Okay, so tonight we're going to be looking at module number 3, and module number 3 is going to be broken into 2 parts. The first part is going to be on revolves, and that's what we're going to be focusing on this evening. And then the second part is going to be patterns, which we'll be focusing on the next time that we're together. Okay, there is an assignment out here. Assignment number 4 is going to be a revolve assignment, and then we'll talk about and look at the revolve assignment after we've gone over kind of our demonstration this evening. There are 2 handouts up in the front here if you're in the room and you haven't gotten those yet. One is for our lecture demo time, and the other one is going to be for the assignment that's there. For those who are virtually online, the handout that we're going to be looking at now is going to be in that first part of the revolve. This is the demo handout. It's a PDF. So I encourage you to take a look at that. I'll be pulling it up underneath my camera in just a bit. And then the assignment is going to be in the assignment folder. So I am going to get my camera going here. Okay. And we are going to look at the handout that I have. Okay. So the handout that I have there, and this is the Revolve handout, we are going to be doing 4 examples this evening so that you get the hang of how to do revolves and why. So as we look at the revolve section, we're going to be identifying and parts that are going to kind of make sense in order to do the revolve. And a lot of these you might say, well, couldn't I just do an extrusion? And yes, there are always multiple ways of making features, but a lot of times the revolve section is going to be a way that we can maybe do it maybe a little bit more efficiently. So if you would build any of these with the extrude command by then just removing material, that's totally fine. But this is just going to be a way that you'll notice that it's another way that we can use if you would extrude, but now we're going to be revolving it around an axis. So we're going to find that most of the parts, actually I think all the parts that we are going to be doing are going to be circular with a center axis that they're around. So the first part that we have here is kind of a cone type of looking part. And you'll notice that in the section here below, on the top is kind of its model, what it's going to look like from a couple of viewpoints. And then down here is going to be the sketch that we're going to be using. So what happens here is if we would cut through here, the cross section that we see right here is actually going to be what that inside area looks like, but we're going to revolve it around a center axis. Okay. Now to do this, there is a revolve command in Creo. So we're gonna go over to Creo right now. I happen to have mine already up. I have my working directory set up, and I'm ready to really go into a part. So I'll give you just a little bit to kind of get to this point, make sure that you have your working directory set, and that you're ready to start that new file. And once you're ready to start the new file, you're going to go in just like we normally do. And the only difference is we're going to use the revolve command to make our part instead of an extrude. So I'll call this revolve. 2. Okay. All right. So as we get into kind of that standard place that we're used to seeing, where we have the 3 planes that are coming together, we are going to go into the revolve command. It's just up and to the right of the extrude, which we've been using a lot of lately, but we are going to create this profile and revolve it around an axis. Okay, so we're going to hit the revolve command, and it's going to ask us where do we want to place everything. So we're going to define, go to the front plane, and then I just need to hit sketch or okay, just like we normally do. And now it comes up to the sketch menu that we're very familiar with. The first thing we do on a revolve, and this is really important, we are going to be identifying our center line, but we have to use the, bless you, we have to use the datum center line, not the sketch center line over here. Okay, it has to be the datum center line. All right, that's a big difference, and that's one of the main things that you have to do here. So we have to identify our axis first by just clicking once and twice, and I went right on, if you would, the top plane. Okay, now you'll see that it's green in the middle here, and now we're ready to start our revolve sketch on one side or the other of this datum axis. So we're going to go back to, oh, Corinne, there's 2 handouts up front here you're going to want to grab. And we're looking at the first one, that's the demos. Okay. So, so I'm going to go back underneath my camera. And what we're going to do is you'll notice right here is that center line that we just created. You'll also notice that these dimensions are all like on the other side of the center line. Okay. What that means is that these are identified as diameters. Okay. Because they're on either side. It's recognizing that they would be on either side of the center line really after we do our revolve, because we went in on a revolve command and we created this datum center line. If you put a regular center line down, it will not recognize the diameters and show these dimensions going to the other side. Okay. And you'll be wondering, why isn't it doing it? It's because you picked the wrong center line on that sketch ribbon. It's the datum one that's on the left-hand side in that datum section. Okay. Very important. So now what we're going to do is you'll notice that we're kind of floating above the center line here, and we're just going to draw our profile in place and then add our dimensions just like we normally would do our sketch. But then we'll notice that those dimensions all appear as, if you would, diameters across the center line, as opposed to just one side. So I'm going to go back to Creo, and I am going to, I'm going to scooch this over here. I'm going to draw my profile. So just like we normally do. The radius on the inside there, just as a reference, I am going to be doing that as a feature round on the outside, if you would, okay, as a feature, rather than doing the fillet on the sketch. Really just that's just a preference thing, okay? I feel like radius is a lot of times like that fillets have a more opportunity to change at some point, so they're easier to update outside of the sketch as opposed to inside. Now we're going to add the dimensions that are here. So you're going to reference the drawing that we have. So so the outside here is going to be 1.5. This inside diameter is, let's see, 0.875. The diameter to that step is 1 inch. Then from end to end, from here to here, that is, oops, did it not grab it? It's there. Let's try again. Here to here. There we go, 2 inches. Okay. This dimension, 1. This dimension, 2.5, and then the diameter, the diameter is 1.75. Okay, so I just want to see, I've got my 1 inch. I'm not putting the radius of 1.125. I'm going to do that as a round, as a feature. 1.25. Okay. All right, I'll let you guys kind of catch up and get all the dimensions in place that you need for the sketch. And then to check to see if you're okay, you're going to go to the feature requirements, and you're going to notice that there are more green check marks, but it's just because it's a different type of a feature rather than an extrude. So, so make sure that you have all green check marks and that you have all of the values in place here. Ooh, I forgot one. I see one. I was sneaking there. This outside one, I need the 2.75. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay. So again, your feature requirements, make sure you've got, it looks like 5 green check marks. Okay, got them? Awesome. All right. Once we're ready there, okay, I'm going to close that. You can just hit okay. All right, hit okay. And what's going to happen is, remember we went in on the revolve. So if I tip this a little bit, just like we do when we see the extrude, notice what I've got. Okay. Up here on the ribbon, make sure that solid is blue, not surface. If you do surface on this, it's just going to be like a shell of material on the very outside, and then the inside will be like open. Okay, we want it as a solid. You'll notice that the axis was actually identified in our sketch, and then this is the angle. The angle is always going to be assumed to be 360 degrees to go all the way around to create the full revolve here, but you can adjust that. So if I wanted to go, for instance, 180 degrees, now this is what it looks like. Okay. So, so you can always change that if you want to, but most often we're interested in it going all the way around. And once you look at this and you're like, oh, okay, that looks good, you can simply hit okay, just like we normally do for our extrude function. Okay. So actually, as you can see here, certainly could do this on the extrude, but we get to do it in one revolve, one feature. The last feature we want to add to this before we go away is we want to add the fillet on that inside corner. So we're going to hit round. Remember, we don't want to grab when we're highlighting a surface. We want to grab when we're just on that inside corner there. So make sure you hover over the inside of the corner. You're going to click on that. And then down at the bottom, you're going to have the radius here. The radius for this is 0.125. So it was good. And now you'll notice that it gives us that preview. That looks good. We can hit okay. And now that round is in there as well, or that fillet. Okay. So, so I think that takes care of the features on this one. This one's a pretty simple one, but it's a nice one to show you the process. Okay. Any questions at all? Okay, let's turn the page. Let's do another one. Okay. The next one that we have to do is, you'll notice we have a 4-hole hub. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the revolve command to create the cross section, if you would, on one side of the center line, revolve it around, and then we're going to create the fillet on the inside using that round command. And then we're going to take a peek. We're going to take a peek at the pattern command to put these 4 holes in that face. Okay, so we're gonna focus on first that cross section and getting that in place first. Okay, so so use the sketch right here, and we'll go through that very same process. So I'm going to go back to Creo. I am going to do a save on my revolve. And then I'm going to close this. And then I'm going to manage the session and delete or erase anything that's not displayed. Make sure you do that when you are not planning on leaving Creo completely and coming back in. Because that stuff is floating in the background, and the more drawings that you do and the more stuff that's in the background, as you can imagine, things can slow down or start acting a little funny. So it's always good to have a clean slate. If you go out and you completely shut down Creo and come back in, that'll all happen, but it takes time to do that. So this is kind of nice to kind of clear things in the background so that we can just kind of continue working. If we don't go out of Creo, it will remember our same working directory. So that's still all set. And we're going to start a new file and call it the 4-hole hub. Okay. And then we're going to start with a revolve for, the majority of the body there. So we're going to do the revolve section, or the revolve feature, I'm sorry. We're going to define, pick the front plane, and then we're going to do sketch on that plane. First things first, whenever we are in this revolve command, we have to identify our center line datum. So over here, upper left, don't go to the middle of the right, on the right hand side here, we're going to go upper left, center line, click and click. Okay. And you can really put this center line anywhere, but it's kind of nice to put it at that intersection of all 3 of those planes. And then that way that's used as kind of that, like 0, 0, if you would. So there's our center line. Now what we're going to do is we'll go back underneath, and this is our center line in our sketch. Go ahead and create the profile here to go ahead and do the revolve. If you want to follow along with me, you can. Otherwise, if you want to move ahead, you can also. As far as origin wise, unless there's a reason on one side or the other, it really doesn't make a difference which side you go on. So I'm going to use the line command here. Start here, go up, over. Good. Now, you're going to notice something that happened with me, and I'm kind of happy it intentionally happened. So when I created my sketch and I came down, sometimes they don't always come out perfectly, or you don't click at the right exact time you're supposed to so that things line up. But what I can do at this point is I can just simply add a constraint to that line that's kind of at an angle here. It's this vertical line right here. So if I go ahead and I think I can select the line and then put a vertical constraint on it. Oh, I think it has to be the opposite way. Vertical constraint and then put it on that line. Notice now it straightens out. Okay. So don't forget about your constraints and don't get too concerned if as you're doing your sketch, things are a little, off than what you had wanted to. You can always fix it. Always fix it. Okay, so now we're going to go around and kind of try to find some of these dimensions they already have in place for us. So this one is 3.75. The one on the very outside is 6.25. This one is 2.5. Yes. I wonder if I have, I think those two are equal. That's the problem. See, sometimes constraints get in there. Remember when I tell remember I try to say to you, make sure that things are independent or try not to click when things are equal. Those equals can get in there and they can sneak in. And then all of a sudden you're like, what's going on? I couldn't get my overall width dimension in here because two of those were equal and they weren't supposed to be. So I had to delete that constraint before I could go any further. Now I am not noticing any weak dimensions. I'm going to double check to be sure all the ones that I need are in here. Okay, I think I look good. How are you guys doing? Any questions? When you do the feature requirements, you should have 5 green check marks. 5 green check marks, you should be okay. And then you're ready to hit the green okay. Here we go. Look at that. Now, again, as you look at this, you can see you could create separate extrudes for each one of these by just setting it down. Okay. One could be this, like disc on the bottom. Then the next one could be the next diameter. And then you could do extrudes through and to depths. Okay. But that would be, let's count how many. That would be 1, 2, that would be 4 different extrudes that we would be doing. Okay. To try to get that to work out, whether it's adding or subtracting material. And we did it all in one revolve. Okay. So it's efficient. It's a little bit more efficient when you can recognize these axes that things are, can be rotated around on that cross section. It's really kind of nice and handy for it to work out. Okay. Couple more features to add to this one. Let's put in, it looks like there's some radiuses on the outsides. Those are always the easy ones to get at. So let's look at the, I think it's kind of funny. This one's like a hand sketch that they had. So, so we've got a radius of 1/4 inch here. Got a radius of 1/4 inch here. And I think we have to assume it's here as well. So I think it's in all 3 of those outside corners. So let's go ahead and put those on. I see there's something in the chat. Dimension off of the center line. Oh, so Nick, you're only getting half of it. So I'll show you that in just a bit. I'll show you that in just a bit. Because what I think you're asking is if I go and I do this, one of these is only going on one side of the dimension. Is that right, Nick? One of these is only on one side as opposed to over the center line.
Yeah, I'm only getting half of the dimension off the center line.
All right. Now, depending on which one you're looking at, I'm gonna get rid of this dimension here because this might happen to other people's too. I'm glad you said something. So if you put in a dimension here and you go for like from that center line to here and you go there, it's only going to be half of it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I want it to be over because we know that it's supposed to go around in a circle. So let me get rid of this dimension. I'm going to delete it. Okay. And to get it in properly, it's kind of a process. So you put the dimension in place, you hit the center line first, you then hit your line, you hit the center line again, and now you middle mouse button. So it's center line, center line, middle mouse button.
Okay, I'll try that.
And that's the dimension I want. So I should be okay. Did it work? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
I have to resketch mine real quick.
Okay. All right. Well, in the meantime, we're going to put the rounds on the outside here. Okay. And if you don't get those in, these are just practice as you know. So now what we're going to do is we're going to add the rounds on the outside surfaces there. So I'm going to click, and all of these are going to be 1/4 of an inch. So right away down at the bottom here, I'm going to change my radius down at the bottom down here to 0.25. Okay. Now anything that I put in on this set, if you would, or on this menu is going to all be at that same radius. Now, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change my display to be display with edges because I like to see the edges. And then I'm going to zoom in here, and I'm going to make sure that I don't click on any one of these surfaces. I'm going to click only when I see just the line for the edge. Okay. And that's going to be my 1/4 of an inch. Same thing on the inside here, 1/4 of an inch. And then on the very outside here, get just the edge, not the surfaces, 1/4 of an inch. And now all of those are going to be the same size because they have the same radius here. And then I can hit OK. Okay. So they're there. Nick, how does it look now? Did you get it set? It's working? Okay, good. And then the last one I need to do is going to be, it looks like it's a 1/4 inch radius to be assumed on that inside surface as well. So we're going to go on the inside here. Probably could have done it as part of that original. It's going to remember the 0.25, which is good. And then I'm just going to click on that inside radius there and hit OK. I got it to work. Okay, good. All right. So those are my radiuses. Any questions? Now's a good time to do a quick save, file save. And it's going to prompt me for my working directory, and it looks good. Now, the last thing I need to do is I need to put the 4 holes in. So if we go back here, you're going to notice that there's 4 holes on that face. All right. So we are going to be putting their 1/2 inch, there are 4 of them, and they are on a 5-inch bolt circle, a 5-inch bolt circle. So let's take a peek. Now, this is actually considered patterns, and we're going to be doing these the next time we get together as part 2 of this learning plan. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back in here, and we are going to turn this around so that we can see this face. Okay. And we are going to do an extrude on this face right here. And we're going to put in one of our holes. Okay. Just one of our holes in. And to get the bolt circle on there, we have to put that in not as a line circle, but instead as a construction mode circle. So we need to click on construction mode. And now anything that I am going to be putting in after this point is going to be a construction line, meaning it's not a regular solid line. And I just want to add a circle. I'm going to go to the center here, and I'm going to create a circle at, a radius. I know it's really hard to see it. I'm going to try to kind of rotate it. You see how there's like that green little circle? For those who are online, you're going to notice it on your screen too, because you're in that construction mode. It's grayed in. This circle that I created is like a little like shaded line there. And that radius, I want that to be 2.5 because it's a diameter of 5 inches. And I'm not sure why it puts it in as a radius, but I'm going to switch it. I'm going to left click on it and put it in as a diameter because it's a 5-inch diameter bolt circle. Okay, so that's there. All right. Oopsie, I want to be able to see it. There it is. Now I'm going to go back to my sketch view and I'm going to zoom in. I want at the center, at the middle of my part here, I want to put my first circle, okay, that 1/2-inch circle. So I'm going to click off of construction mode and I'm going to create a circle and I'm going to click to the intersection of where that construction line circle is and what would be the right plane, okay, right there. And then I'm just going to create my circle, middle mouse button, and then double click to make that 0.5, 1/2-inch. Okay, so I've got 1/2-inch circle on my 5-inch bolt circle. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to look at my feature requirements. This is an extrude, so there's only 2 green check marks and they're both good. And I don't see any weak dimensions. So I'm ready to hit OK. All right, now if I rotate this a little bit, as the extrude always does, it always wants to add material. So I'm going to change the direction here. Oopsie, I'm going to change the direction here on the right hand side of my dimension, and I want to remove material, and I want to go either up to next or up to the reference. And you'll notice that if it goes up to next, it's going to go through just that next surface. You could do through all 2, but that technically then it extends over the whole thing, but either one will get it done, just as long as if we ever change that thickness, that it's going to go along with it. Okay, so this is good. We've got one in place. All right. So now what I want to do is I want to take that hole and oh my goodness, my mouse went down here. Hold on. What I want to do is I want to take that hole and I am going to put it in 3 other places equally spaced on that bolt circle that I put in there. So we're going to highlight extrude 1. Now we learned last time you can change the names of these. I haven't been, just to kind of, get through this process, but I'm going to go up here to pattern. Okay. So up on the top here, there's the pattern button. I'm just going to click on the pattern button. And what's going to happen is a new ribbon comes up. All right. Now, right now, the type of pattern that we can put in here, you'll notice that it has like linear dimension. This is going to be, for instance, if I want to create a pattern that has rows and columns, okay, rows and columns, but that's not what I want. I want to click on that and I'm actually going to put it about an axis, okay, about an axis. So I'm going to click on axis. So that needs to change. Now it's asking me, you got to select an axis. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in here. And we're going to kind of rotate this a little bit. And you're going to notice that there is an axis going through the center. Okay, again, you might have to rotate a little bit here with your middle mouse button, but there's the axis. Once it highlights, then you want to left click it. And then it's got one selected. Okay. Now, if I zoom out, you're going to notice that now I've got these yellow dots. I don't no longer see my hole. Okay, that's okay. Over on the right-hand side here then is where we're going to be filling in the number of instances that I want in this pattern. So the total number of instances that I want is 4, okay, including the one that I actually created. So here's 4, and then how many degrees do you want between them? So to get 4 evenly spaced in 360 degrees, it would be 90 degrees between them, and that's what it has. Now, I can hit OK right here because it's exactly what I want, but let's play with this just a little bit for a second. Let's say we want to put in 6, okay? Now, if I put in 6, you're going to notice nothing changed because the angle is still 90 degrees. So instead of 90, what do I need to do to put in 6 evenly distributed around 360 degrees? What number? What times 6 equals 360? 60, right? So I'm going to put 60 in here. Now you're going to see that there's 6 of them evenly spaced. Okay. Questions on that? If I would hit OK, they would be there. Let's go back to 4 and the 90. Okay. Now you'll see that preview. Yes.
So it's like first and second direction.
Correct, yes. And then if I hit OK, now you'll notice that they're in there, okay? And then if I ever wanted to go back in to change the number or the angle, I can simply click on it, do an edit, edit that feature, and then that menu comes back up and I can make whatever changes I want, okay? So, so that's kind of cool. So that's a pattern. So rather than putting them in 4 separately, you can put in 1 and then add the pattern to it. So you'll be seeing this more on different parts on Thursday. Okay. Somebody has something in the chat. 60. Thank you, Nick. Thank you. All right. Now we'll do one more save on this and we should be all set. So save, let's see, save. All right. Any questions on our 4-hole hub? Piece of cake, right? All right. Then we get to do another one. The next one is going to be a step shaft. So I'm going to close. Oh, actually, before I close, I want to manage my file, delete my old ones. Yes. And then close. And then manage session, erase not displayed, and get rid of it. The last time I didn't do delete old ones because I only saved once as my final. So when you save multiple times throughout, then you want to delete the old ones. Otherwise, you'll have them accumulated in your directory. Okay, so let's take a peek at the step shaft. So here's a drawing of the step shaft, or kind of like that final model. And then here is the profile. So as you can imagine, I'm going to let you do this one yourself. Go ahead and create the center line, and then create the profile, and then rotate it around to create now a shaft. So again, a shaft isn't always the kind that we see, but when we have multiple steps like we see here, again, nice and efficient way to make that profile. So we'll start new step shaft, score 1. And then we're going to be going in on the revolve again. We're going to define our front plane that we're going to sketch on. Okay. And then if you want to follow along with me, you certainly may. So I'm going to start by putting my center line datum along that top plane. Okay. And then I'm going to create this profile. So line, I'm going to start at the bottom, go up, over, up. Now again, avoid equals or inlines, because like that, the right side is a diameter of 1 1/4, while the left hand diameter is only 1 inch. Okay. So then now I'm going to put in place probably the outside diameter 1.75, and then it'll space everything else nicely. Awesome. This is going to be 1 inch. So then you want to go around and just add all of your dimensions. 2, 3, and that one's not going to be 1. It's going to be an overall of 7.5. There we go. Make sure that you close this along that center line. Okay. If you leave it open, there's going to be an error. Okay. So make sure that you have a closed loop before you do your revolve. Once you have a closed loop and you're fully defined, you want to check your requirements. And we've got 5 green check marks and you don't have any weak dimensions. You're ready to hit the OK button. And there we go. Look at that. There's your shaft. 360 degrees, and you can hit OK. All right. So another really nice, efficient way to create a shaft. Questions on that? I think I've got one more demo. One more demo. see what this one's gonna look like. I'm gonna let you experiment with this one as well, kind of let you go off and see what you create. So on the very last page, this is a clutch cup. Here's your center line, here's your profile. Okay, go ahead and create it. And then let's see what it looks like. See what it looks like. So use that very same process. Don't forget to set your datum center line right away at the beginning before you start any sort of sketching. See, I hate that. Sometimes you go over the top. I gotta see if I can. Let's see. Yeah. Now remember, if you need to add a dimension, and that was a good question that Nick had earlier, but here it comes up again, potentially, depending on how your dimensions come out. You need to hit the center line first, then the point or the edge, and then the center line again, and then middle mouse button, and it'll go across the center line. Okay, otherwise it'll only stay on one side. Okay. And I have one more right here. 2 inches. There we go. Looks like I have my feature requirements. I'll let everybody just make sure everybody's okay on the sketch or still playing with it. Once you've got your 5 green check marks, hit okay. And there we go. 360 degrees and then okay. All right, any questions at all on those 4 demos that we did? All right, so that's, I mean, the revolve command is pretty straightforward, okay? So now we have some homework that's going to be assigned. There's going to be 6 models that you're going to create using the revolve command as the primary way of creating it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to stop this video and we'll start, you know, again, by doing an overview of those homework assignments. So I'm gonna stop recording right now, but I'll be back.